Hey, good morning and thanks for waking up to Sunrise at Sea. My name is Kira. If you're just joining in, you're just in time for our views. Now, cell phones have become a very important element in our lives, or something that we use in our daily lives. Given the pandemic, everyone gets hooked. However, when it comes to cell phones, it's something we can actually use for emergencies, reach our friends, our family. However, to some extent, if not used thoughtfully, it gets really, really annoying. And today, joining me in studio is Siobhan, Sandra, and Sarah, and we're going to give you a few tips and tricks in regards to how to use your phone right. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Kira.
How are you?
Good.
So, I want us to go about phone etiquette. So many of us actually have, I would say, poor communication skills. When it comes to reaching out to people. So I would want you to tell me some of the basic phone etiquettes that you actually know of.
I think many people don't know this, but when you're going to have a meal, you're not supposed to put your phone on the table. It's not even supposed to be on the table. It's very rude to have your phone vibrating. You're trying to have a conversation, and someone is like halfway reading through WhatsApp or watching TikTok, and that is just it's just a no-no. Or if you're driving as well and you're replying to a text, not only is it very dangerous, to be on text when you're driving, that is very dangerous, and you're not considering not only your life, but if you are driving anybody else, you're putting their life at risk. So I feel that is a no-no as well.
No.
Yeah.
For you, that's the one thing that stands out for you when it comes to phone etiquette.
Yes. Among other things, like if you are sending me a message, there is the tone in the message, and many people don't know this. Yes, texts do have tones in them. For example, if you send someone an email, for example, and you write something in caps, that means you're shouting at that person.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
You're not supposed to write that. They think this is for emphasis, unless it's a heading, yes. But in the email, right there in the middle, and then you put it in caps and in bold, it means you're shouting. It's rude. Messages have tone as well. So the tone that you use, even how you begin, you could have not, this was unacceptable or that. No, in an official email, there's a way in which you can dress a message you want to say. It's not your WhatsApp or official email like on the phone. It's not WhatsApp. So there's a particular way in which you are supposed to communicate in a professional manner, depending, because communication is all about context.
Very much so. Siobhan, what are some of the basic phone etiquettes that you know of?
Well, first of all, phone etiquette falls under communication etiquette. So even while we're talking communication, it brings up phone etiquette. However, for me, key things, to highlight also what Sandra has said, what some of the keys that I know, or some of the key pointers when it comes to phone etiquette, is there's some things you cannot do. Like, for example, someone calls you twice. It's just courtesy and it's just etiquette for you to call back or even find out what the person wanted. But also it is very important that when, for example, when you are having a conversation with someone, and teenagers do this a lot. I used to do this when I was a teenager. My dad would be talking to me and I would be on my phone. And I was actually reading an article, and it stated that in Africa alone, over 60% of the teenagers lose out the information that they're being told because they do not have phone etiquette. The teacher is teaching, your parents are talking to you, an adult is talking to you, and you're on your phone. It's just right for you to put it away and concentrate on what the other person has to say, because then it makes it look like what you're saying is not valuable, like I can multitask at the same time, but it is very important that you pay attention. Another thing when it comes to phone etiquette, it's very important that if you know that, let's say you're going for a meeting, if you know that, say you're going to meet a stakeholder or a client, put your phone in silent. Some of us have very terrible ringtones. You're in a meeting and boom, a song goes off and you're like, what's going on? Like, phone etiquette. Put your phone in silent when you know you're going to be in a large group of people and you're having serious conversations. So for me, those are some of the key things that I pick out or that run at the back of my mind when you talk about phone etiquette.
I think also on the flip side, Siobhan, because Siobhan said if somebody calls you twice, then let them know if you're in a meeting and what. And yes, I agree with that. Like, you have those automatic messages in a meeting, call you back later. But also on the reverse side, if you call someone once or twice, and they don't call them frantically. You look, some people, 15 missed calls.
As though I have your liver. Okay.
Text a message.
You
like
text and say, it's very urgent. Call me back when you get a chance. Don't keep on calling. That would even make me not call you back.
Sarah, what would you say are some of the basic etiquettes when it comes
Siobhan and Sandra have highlighted everything out from be respectful of the people around you when you're using your phone. If you're in a meeting and you have to respond to a call, you could ask to be, you know, excused or pardoned if it's an emergency.
Yeah.
But you can ask to be excused. Also, it's also important to just give everybody your undivided attention when you're speaking to them. Also, when you're using your phone and somebody's talking to you or texting you, it's also, you know, courteous of you to give them your undivided attention, have the conversation, wrap it up, and move on.
Yeah. Okay, now a research shows that 20% of people have dropped their phones in the toilet, yeah? The average person talks 3 times loud while on cell phone than in person. And 50% of people have left uncomfortable from hearing a personal conversation. This reminds me of when I was actually coming back and I was in the bus, yeah? So this gentleman picked up his phone and he was so loud. Literally everyone in the bus could literally hear his conversation. So I feel like that's not really etiquette. Then I'm going to show you that this is going to be running on your screens. Some of the importance. A phone may be important. However, customers greatly prefer human-to-human interaction like phone calls, and that is 62%. However, 46% prefer emails and 37% prefer chats, and 14% prefer self-service, as 13% prefer bots when dealing with issues. Yeah, so it's very, very important. Maybe you can know what category you fall in. And then we have 25% of callers give up after they kept on hold for too long. I'm that kind of person. If you keep me on hold for a very long time, I'll hang up on you. I don't think it's actually right. Then when it comes to resolving a complex issue, 40% of customers want to speak to a real person over the phone. And that's why I think many people, they'll call you back to back 15 times or 10 times only because they prefer, you know, phone calls as opposed to text messages. Then you have 66% of customers who switch companies because of poor customer service. This shows how important telecommunication companies are very, very important, and that's why you realize that when it comes to communication, you know, people actually taught how to talk to people on phones. So how you talk to people on phones is very, very important. Then you have 77% of respondents to a survey believe a phone call is the most effective way to get an answer quickly.
I think that is true. You talked about, there's a stat that you read where it talks about complexities, but I think it's very important. You see, we're living in a digital era. I mean, very many people would say, I mean, gone are the days when you have to say, meet a person face to face or even send a letter. You can just type a message on WhatsApp and even email. But however, there's some conversations that are not conversations for having on phone. I don't know if you realize that. Now, that also falls under phone etiquette. There are certain things that you cannot discuss over the phone. For example, if, let's say you're in a work environment and you'd like to talk to your HR and you want leave, I don't think it would be respectful for you to send her WhatsApp and be like, good morning, I want leave or something. It's better you send an email or even go to her office and have a personal conversation. So while even the stats show that it is important and very many people would prefer to use phones for quicker communication, there are some messages that you cannot relay over the phone depending on the magnitude of what you actually have to say.
I beg to differ on that, because I feel that if the pandemic has not taught us anything, it taught us how to be apart together. So we had, I mean, stuff was going on. Kids were going to school. People had Zoom meetings and everything.
People are getting married on Zoom.
People are getting married on Zoom. So I feel like it has upped the game, so that it has taught us that communication, we can do it under any context, because if we are shoved into, like, when push comes to shove, then you gotta do what you got to do. Yeah. So I feel that at this point, the game has changed. You get it? So even if you want to ask that leave from your HR, you can have a Zoom meeting. Or even a WhatsApp video call. As long as they are in a room and it's private, you can have that conversation. You don't even need, like, to go on email.
It has depends been on the context. And
yes, so I totally agree, Shivan, but I feel also like the game has changed now. because of the pandemic.
Sandra, I would want to ask you, because you're married, you're a married person, and you're working on a TV station whereby you get calls till midnight, So I would want to ask you, what do you think are the right etiquettes for a person who is at home but working, 24/7? Yes. I don't know, I would say 24/7, but most of the time you're actually working,
Yeah.
So what do you say is the right etiquette for a working person, be it a husband or a mother?
I feel you just have to be clear communication with your partner at home, but also I can't be on the phone all the time. Like, if I'm going to be on the phone, like what Sarah said, like, excuse yourself, do what you have to do, and then come back. So, like, I divide that at home. I know, like, my producer can reach me at any time, or we can have a chat here and there. So I've made provisions for that I know, okay, I can take 30 minutes off, I do this, and I come back. But I cannot be at home and I'm just with my phone everywhere. That's not fair to other people. It's rude.
Yeah. Do you have specific hours whereby you tell people, stop calling me at certain hours?
Yes, I do. Usually my cutoff time is 9
p.m.
Yes, I don't take calls after 9, or I hardly respond to messages unless it is work related. But otherwise, if it's a social call, nobody really calls me after 9.
Okay. Sarah, what would you say is the right etiquette when it comes to social circles, I should say friends?
How do you mean?
What's the best way to handle, if, for instance, do you allow friends to call you at specific times? Would you, are you the kind of person, like, if a friend or a workmate calls you, you kind of put them on loudspeaker? How exactly would you say is the right way to handle friends when it comes to communication or phones?
Our relationship with our friends is relative. So my relationship with my friends could be different from with another person's relationship with their friends. When it comes to friendships, it's about familiarity. So some people have their friends calling them at any time of the night. Other friends do not do that. So it just depends on your social circle and how close you are, or whatever the message is. Because for some of us, we have friends who are like, you can call me anytime, and it's acceptable for us to call them anytime. And then there are other friends, like acquaintances, people we hang out with from time to time, that we do not really communicate with all the time. And then there are boundaries, in place that, define these relationships. So it's relative. For one, I cannot say that you should act this way because with your friends, because those are your friends. That is your familia, that's your family. So I think it's just up to you to define, the rules on how you,
use your phone.
How you use your phone with your friends. Yes.
Shivan, how would you say you use your phone, and what does it say about you?
Well, a number of people have complained. Yes, when I am at work, I am always on my phone, making sure that I'm keeping myself updated as to what's happening around the world. But when I leave my work premises and I go home and now I'm with my family or I'm hanging out with my friends, rarely will I be on my phone, because that is the way I know how best to relate with people. So I would say, yes, I can be a phone addict when it comes within workspaces and work office hours, because I'm constantly on my phone trying to engage and understand what's happening. But when it comes to when I am relating with other people, I prefer to have personal conversations. First of all, my love language is quality time. And that falls for relationships, romantic relationships, but also friendship relationships. So if you're my friend, I would want to spend quality time with you, regardless of the fact that we're adapting to the new normal. I like to spend quality time with the people that I love. So I guess when it comes to my phone, it's not really a big deal. So I would say I have phone etiquette. Yeah, I'm not that
good
bad.
Phone etiquette.
Good phone etiquette. Good phone etiquette. By the way, there's a time someone called me up. Now, I did not really understand that. You see how someone can send you a text message, let's say today, and then you reply 2 weeks after? That's not good phone etiquette. 2 weeks after.
See, this is the thing.
It's relative, your relationship with various people. You have acquaintances, you have colleagues, you have family, and everybody has a priority list, and everybody is entitled to that priority list. So if somebody is replying to your message after 2 weeks, you are not a priority, so don't take it to heart. They have the right to not respond to your text. You're down there. Yeah. Reason there. Gotcha.
If you're not priority.
You're not priority.
I'm very terrible. I'm very terrible when it comes to phones. I'm working on that. So I'm going to be sharing with you some phone etiquettes, and they'll be running on your screen. And the first one is be on control of your phone. Just like Sandra said, you don't have to be on your phone all the time. You know, you don't have to have your phone with you literally all the time. You can put it somewhere. If it's time for dinner, have dinner, and go back on your phone if it's a must. Yeah. Then speak softly. Like I said, you know, earlier when I was actually in the bus, yeah, someone was on phone and they were so loud. I find it very rude and disrespectful if you're around people and there's no tone to a conversation. No one always has to know what you're talking about. Then be courteous to those you are with. Very true. So if you're going out for lunch or dinner or anywhere with a couple of people, it's rude to have your phone with you. And that's why you see most people, when you're around or when you go out, everyone is in their phone. We have actually lost a touch of communication. Yeah. Then watch your language. Yeah, some people are actually on phone. You tend to be very loud and aggressive and rude, and I don't know what the other person is saying on the other end of the phone. However, it's actually very, very rude if you don't mind your language. Then another is avoid talking about personal or confidential topics in a public place. And I don't know how many people are struggling with this, but some people claim they are naturally loud people. Yeah, and I think we need to work on that. So if you're having a problem or something disturbing you, excuse yourself from people that wouldn't want to know what you're talking about and have a conversation with the other person.
But what about the people who, because with number one you said be in control of your phone.
Yes.
There are some people who are in professions that require them to always be on call. On the phone. For instance, doctors, for instance, almost never have any, you know, days off. They're always on call. People in security are always on call. Some engineers as well. People who work in the stock market have to always have their phone on themselves. So I think phone etiquette is just relative for everybody. So you can't put everybody in just one bracket.
No, I think when it comes to that, okay, now for instance, doctors, you can't tell me you can't stay away from your phone for even 5 minutes?
You could.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you couldn't actually, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. And 5 minutes it's a long time to save a life if you got there 5 minutes earlier. Yeah?
Yeah.
It's basically saving lives, so you cannot be away from your phone.
What about workplaces that refrain people from having their phones?
Now that is a workplace that refrains people from using their phone. So I do not know which profession this is, but perhaps maybe if you are a school teacher and they say during class or your lectures and you're a teacher, don't use your phone. That can be put in place, but there are a lot of professions now in place, especially since in this COVID-19 era where a lot of people cannot be away from their phone, because 5 minutes you could be losing a patient, 5 minutes your stock market could be crashing and you could be losing a lot of stocks. In 2 seconds you could have your house up in a fire and you're supposed to be putting out that fire. So it's relative. So when you talk about phone etiquette, especially now in this era, it's it's changed.
Yeah. So I want to ask this, since we're talking about phones, I want to ask, when it comes to being friends, I may be here and we're talking, what do you think, or what's your take on people grabbing other people's phones without their permission? Like, because I feel like that's no etiquette, grabbing somebody's phone, or you're trying to show someone something, and the next thing they're going through, I don't know, whatever it is that is actually in your phone. What do you have to say on that, Sarah?
For some people wouldn't mind, because it's a question, is it transparency or is it a question of your right to privacy, or are you hiding something? So it's different. It's different for every. Yeah. Or are you hiding something?
But also it could be friendship. If I am close to Sarah and we're kidding around, I'll just remove your phone from me and be like, Sarah, I'm talking to you. I need you to pay attention to me. You might not find that offensive, but if we are not that close, someone else might find it offensive. So also it depends on the level of familiarity and friendship that you have with the both
person.
of you.
Yes. So if it is a stranger, don't be going through strangers' phones, but we go through our siblings' phones or our friends' phones, and they comfortably allow you to even answer their calls, like, hey, I'm stepping out, if somebody calls, answer for me. So it's also really subjective.
I'm I don't like people touching my phone. Period. I do not like anyone touching my phone or scrolling or I just don't like it. Just stay away from my phone. It just, I don't like it.
Yeah, so it's different for some people. Some people it's a matter of, you know, privacy, like Sandra. Other people don't mind, don't even have passwords. I don't have a password on my phone, so a phone is just a tool and a means of communication for me. And I don't keep any personal information on my phone. And a lot of people also do this. They do not keep their personal information on their phone, or they have the habit of, you know, erasing chats after having conversations. So you really have, you know, and with the way phones keep getting stolen, for me, for a lot of people, they now have, you know, alternative ways of storing their data, you know, like on the cloud, so that you can always have your information, access to your information, even after you lose the gadget. So it depends, again. Some people it's privacy, other people are just have nothing to hide.
We have nothing to hide, but
I just feel a phone is a very private thing. And just like I wouldn't touch your phone, I don't touch other people's phones. So I don't like them to touch my phone or my stuff. I'm just like that overall. I don't like someone meddling in my stuff. It really, it drives me up the wall. So I don't like it. I like boundaries and I like people to respect personal space, and I respect other people's personal space.
Very much so. I totally agree. I don't like people touching my phones. I literally do what I don't do what I wouldn't want somebody else to do to me. So I wouldn't go through your things. I wouldn't go through your phone, even if you don't have a password. I wouldn't go through your phone. That's just me. Well, that's what we had for you when it comes to phone etiquette. I hope you learned one or two things. However, still another interesting conversation. Can you work and stay home at the same time? Well, Siobhan will be coming in with another beat of our views. Do not blink.